Hey guys, my name's Woodley. Hold on. Uh, I'm here to share my story with you. I'm going to talk about my ADHD journey, and I'm going to talk about my spiritual journey and how the two have been very much connected in my life. As you can see, there's this light behind me that keeps turning on and off. I don't know why it does that, but hopefully it makes for some entertainment for you guys because this is going to be a long one. Okay, where to begin? When I was a kid, probably about first grade or so, I remember realizing in some intuitive way, in maybe like a nonverbal way, that I was different from the other kids, or that the other kids seemed to understand, and perhaps the adults for that matter, seemed to understand something called common sense that I didn't understand. They seemed to be plugged into the world in a way that I wasn't. They seemed to intuitively grasp what to do and what not to do. They seemed to feel a sense of necessity and purpose and drive in life that I didn't feel. I felt an openness, a love, a joy, a calmness, a lack of need to get things, to achieve things, for the most part, I would say. And as I got older and I encountered various challenges in school that we all face, like learning math, learning reading, reading math, science, history, all that stuff, I was diagnosed as a dyslexic with a sprinkling of ADD. And I found it challenging to accept that things are as I'm told they are, that there's only one answer to a math problem, for example. And I felt a lot of sadness and pain arise as I realized this, because it seemed like everyone and all of society wanted to steal my joy by telling me that I was wrong, that I was getting the wrong answer, that I couldn't read or I couldn't understand the way they could, that I lack common sense, as I mentioned. And I was told I have executive functioning issues at the same time. So I needed to learn how to stay organized, how to stay neat and tidy, be clean. Anyway, so fast forward, this was like elementary school time, right? Fast forward to high school, and I got they call it a learning skills teacher. I went to like a sort of a fancy private school, prep school. And this teacher really helped me to stay organized, stay neat, tidy, get my work done. And I excelled in school. I got like straight A's by the end of high school, and I went to college, and something happened around that time as well, which is that I got caught up really very much in words, in language, and I studied philosophy as a result, because I felt like there's something that I had had as a kid, which was that openness, that love, that joy, that had just gotten so constrained and condensed by all this supposed need and this necessity and this, I don't even know how to put it. Like, what is it? This idea of knowing, that we know, that we know things, that we need to come to know things in life. Know things, get things, achieve things, find our purpose. What is the meaning of life? This question arose. So I studied philosophy in undergrad. At the end of high school and in undergrad. And I was really into like literature and stuff like that too in high school. But in college, so I did philosophy with a focus in philosophy of mind and consciousness studies. And in college, I went to a school that didn't have traditional grades. So instead of traditional grades, what they offered were like narrative evaluations. So the teacher would write about you and your progress, your successes and failures, your whatever. I think I chose that school because it was non-traditional in that way. And I was really looking to sort of not be part of the tradition that had seemingly put me down and made me feel less than for lacking common sense, for lacking that I don't know, worldly something. And then I continued onward in my studies of philosophy of mind and consciousness. And at the same time, I was dating a girl, and that relationship did not go particularly well. Things were topsy-turvy. It seemed like she was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. That's some foreshadowing, by the way. But I was pretty obsessed with the relationship. I was obsessed with philosophy, and I was obsessed with women, and this relationship in particular. So that relationship ends, and I moved to New York City from my college town where I'd been for about 5.5 years by this point. And I taught philosophy to middle school kids. And during that time, I got bored. I got bored of doing the same things over and over again. So I quit that job, and I got another girlfriend. I laugh because now I can see how it's like classic ADD in a lot of ways, like this flip-flopping, right? And long story short, again, I started to get kind of bored of that girlfriend. And then, hold on, my cat's driving me crazy here. I got kind of bored of that girlfriend, and I went on to grad school in the UK. I went to grad school in the UK, and I was still dating her, but she went to grad school in Cambridge in the UK also. So we moved internationally for a while, and we did like semi-long distance. And Sebastian. All right, I'll just introduce you. This is my cat. He's a good boy. But so that relationship ended because basically, like, in a nutshell, she felt like after grad school, she felt like my like skills in being in like ordinary life, human life stuff was lacking. That I was not like clear on having a vision for my life and where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And so she ended up feeling like I wasn't participating in the relationship, in relationship building, because all I seemed to want to do to her and to myself was to chill and hang out and be enveloped in the moment, so to speak. I wasn't really future looking. And the end of that relationship was really, really hard for me. I felt like I was abandoned. Which I'll just put a little footnote here. My parents also got divorced when I was 9. I skipped that. And I also felt abandoned then. So I felt more abandoned once this very profound relationship ended. It was a long relationship, 5.5 years by that point. And she kind of kicked me out of our apartment, and not kind of, she did. And I went along with it, and I felt like a loser for going along with it. But anyway, I didn't really understand why. I didn't really understand at the time what I just told you about the fact that she felt like I wasn't participating in the relationship. I was blaming her, or I was just chalking it up to these pseudo-spiritual concepts like no free will, or things just happen randomly, or just saying, I don't know, and distracting myself with worldly pleasures and the like. So anyway, just continuing on the timeline here. I know I'm jumping around a bit. Basically, that relationship ended, and my dad died around the same time, or just before. My dad died just before that, of a mysterious heart-related illness, and he died after his heart surgery, basically. And that was super hard, and I got depressed, and I smoked a lot of weed at that time. And then sorry, I'm getting distracted by the cat. And as COVID was happening around that time as well, and all the lockdowns and all that, basically after COVID, and after my girlfriend broke up with me, I was in grad school again in New York City, and I encountered Aaron Doughty's meditations, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with if you're in the circles that I run in online. And I was practicing heart chakra meditations. And I had this experience where it's as if my heart was like vibrating. My whole body started vibrating. And I was experiencing like a fairly constant orgasm, low level to high level orgasm, for weeks. And I had what some might call, after that or during that time, like a Kundalini rising. And I started having these visions and seeing all these really trippy things, like everything was shining and the air tasted like honey. So I went from being like depressed and low energy to being like super like euphoric and like my mind had opened even more than it had been in years, if not more than ever before. And I dove straight into the spirituality stuff, of course, crystals and meditation, which I'd been familiar with my whole life because my dad used to teach meditation. And then I encountered something called non-duality, Neo-Advaita, online. And when I encountered those, I guess, teachings or pointings, there was this moment where I was sitting in my apartment watching a video, and there was this pressure on the top of my head. And then the pressure burst. There was like a pop and an expansion. And suddenly it was as if there was this recognition that I'm not only here, but I'm everywhere. I'm in the walls, I'm in the space, I am in the thoughts, but I'm in the emotions, but there's just this openness, this silence that I can't really speak of. And there was this thought like, oh shit, like I can't remember my life. I don't know like who I am. I don't know what's going on. And that began this long period of like a mind storm where I was trying to figure out like what's me and what's not me. I'm sorry, it's just funny now. Because it's all thoughts, right? Me, not me. But I thought it was this like profound thing. And it was like there was a real glimpse, if you will, of a peace that surpasses all understanding, to use the religious language, but an expansion and openness, kind of like how I was living as a child. But I covered it over with these words, these concepts, these questions, what's me and what's not me. And during that time, I also got another girlfriend who was super spiritual this time. And she was kind of into this stuff that I'm talking about, but more so like the new age energy, witchcraft part of it, although she had some sense of non-duality. And that relationship was super toxic. I felt like, and it was sort of a reflection of like what I was going through in a way with this me, not me question. Because she would always be like, dude, like you're not doing anything with your life. And I would always be like, dude, but like you don't understand. Like there's no one to do anything with my life. There's no life either. And that's what I would say sometimes. And other times I would say, but there is like something to do and someone to do it. There is something going on. And so I had this internal battle that was being represented to me in this reflection of the relationship that I was having, wherein, there was this tension between me and my girlfriend at the time, who was like goal-oriented, but also spiritual. Whereas I felt spiritual but goalless. And I didn't understand how to reconcile those two things. So I wasn't really treating her like a human being who had needs, who had a desire to build a relationship again. So same thing as in the past relationship, but now in this one. Because I also wasn't treating myself like I was someone who had a life to build and things to do. I was caught in this loop of what's real, what's not real, what's me, what's not me. Like all these questions, all this mind stuff, all this duality, this, that, this. And things continued like that for a while until they crashed and burned and she left me, and it was really sad. And I again blamed her, just like I blamed my ex before her, not understanding what I just told you. And then I moved back to my mom's place, where I still am now. And it's like my whole life fell apart in the past, like over the course of the past, like 2 years. Like I sort of lost a sense of independence. Like my room got really messy. It's still pretty messy, but that's a whole other story. And my mom said, well, dude, it's your ADD. That's the reason why you're sort of 1 foot in, 1 foot out of these relationships, even though you feel like you're not. That's the reason why people perceive you as inconsiderate, even though you don't perceive yourself that way. That's the reason why, you struggle to stay organized, etc., or to have a sense of like, just struggle to stay on task, to have goals in life, etc. And I sort of bought into that. And so I got an ADHD coach, and she's been helpful. But I'm not sure it's the kind of help that I need exactly. But anyway, we'll put a footnote there. Because then what I realized was basically there's no me or me. Nor is there me or no me. It's all just thoughts. And the thoughts are like empty. Without any words or language, there's just this peace here and this instantaneousness that just unfolds. And then that instantaneousness doesn't take away from the activities of mind, the activities of a life, of a person with goals, etc. So I feel like I have goals and etc. now, but I still feel the peace at the same time. But I skipped a step. It's hard for me to stick to timelines because I don't really experience time anymore in the same way. Like I don't really feel like I have a past, if that makes sense. But so the part I skipped was, while at my mom's, I got another girlfriend who's also very spiritual. And I dove into like Christianity, and I had an exorcism. And I released a lot of energy, so to speak. And I started seeing angels and demons everywhere. And I went to hell and I went to heaven, these different dimensions, and all really cool experiences. And because I wanted to understand, again, like, where's everyone coming from with this whole right and wrong, good and bad, life's purpose thing. And when I came out of that and sort of went back to the non-duality stuff and arrived at the realization that it's all just thoughts, like I just said, that I think that experience with angels and demons really helped me to see that everything in our reality, everything in the world, is a reflection or a manifestation of our thoughts. So if you think that things are all, that if we're in this world of a battle between good and evil, you'll probably experience some depiction of that in your reality, of angels versus demons, let's say. But that distinction between angels and demons, which are kind of like opposites, right? Positive and negative, is illusory in the sense that if you go in between them, between positive and negative, if you look between positive and negative, there's just that stillness, that ease, that peace that never moves. So the thoughts and the images, which the images are the depictions that you see in your reality, whether it's a rock, a person, a conversation, an emotion, right? All that comes and goes, but the peace never moves. If Another way I might say this is, if you can't go to the past or the future right now, if you can't access the past or the future, or you can't think about anything from the past or the future. So if you're just asking what's right now, what do you believe right now? There's just this silence, like nothing comes. No thoughts, no ideas. And that's the not knowing of it. That's the unknowableness of it. And it's not a thought, you can see, because there are no thoughts. What's between a thought and no thoughts? So it's the not knowing of life. That is the peace. But even that's a thought. The true, if you will, not knowing of it, the unknowableness of life, can't even be spoken of. It's the nothing that comes, or the nothing that is, always, between past and future. At this moment. But even if you take away the word moment, talk is cheap. There's just the silence that echoes. This movement that never moves. Because what seems to move, what seems to happen in life, is well, we don't really know what it is, but it's like an appearance. An appearance of movement. So for example, my eyelids are flickering right now. My mouth is moving right now. But all of that is thoughts. All those words, right, that were just said. If you take away all language right now, are my eyes moving? Is my mouth moving? If you take away all the words? No, there's just this unknowingness, right? Appearing to happen. I say appearing to happen because it only appears to happen in thoughts. But thoughts just appear to happen too. What is a thought without a thought? Just this unknowingness, right? Nothing comes. Everything just is. So the ADHD, back on topic, the ADHD was being reflected in my reality because as I grew up, I felt pain because I started to believe the thoughts that there was something wrong with me. And that pain became sort of entrenched in my identity. And that manifested as, I don't know what's going on. So I was always looking around trying to figure out what was going on. And that made me really open to new ideas and perspectives, and I think people with ADD, so to speak, tend to be very spiritually connected people because they're so open to receiving data. They're not so narrowly focused on one thing. But it only takes you so far into the so-called spiritual because it's still mind identified. What is a search but a mind thing? What is a quest but a mind thing? And what is that but a thought? And if you take away all the thoughts, are you even here? Are you even not here? What's between you're here and you're not here? So the thoughts come, but no one thinks them. The necessity to live life appears. The necessity to build things, to do things, to have goals appears. It comes and goes. That's the coming and going of life. And when you see that everything just is, that stillness, that quietness that doesn't move, yet appears to move. When you see that, it's as if you, not the you that you think you are, but you, the bigger you, the silence. See, I can't really say it in words, but let's just go with the silence. The silence can start to create reality the way it wants, because it's not identified with its creation. It's not identified with its thought forms. The thought forms that are reflected in images and sounds. Because the distinction between inside you and outside you is only a distinction in representation, in imagination, in image. But if you take away all those words, what's inside and what's outside? What's between inside and outside? So you can't really say there's no reality or reality. We can't really say there's no reality or no reality. We can't really say there's inside or no inside, because both are illusory. There's just the silence that never moves. And not even that. Take away the word silence, what is there? Take away all words, what is there? The questions that I'm asking don't make sense. The words don't make sense. Except within the simulation of a reality made of words. But don't get caught up in that, because those are just words. So now, and I mean right now, there's just this openness, this peace, this love. It's like I went full circle. Because I realized that I don't belong here. Because there's no here, and there's no me to belong here. Even though there appears to be. And this can't be understood. Or not understood. Sorry, I had to. Wait, sorry, this can't be understood, or this can't be understood, and it can be understood. What's between understanding and no understanding? Anyway, I hope my long-winded story has been at least entertaining, if not insightful for you. And I'm happy to take any of your questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas. I have no idea.